Hello everyone, welcome back to the course on Health Humanities, Indian and Western Medical Knowledge Traditions. This is lecture number 35 on representation of aging in Indian and British fiction. In this lecture, I will talk about how old age people have been represented in Rohinton Mistri's Family Matters, Kingsley Amices Ending Up, and Deborah Magog's These Foolish Things. I will talk about how literary representation of aging provides a new approach, a new perspective to the old age people, to the problems of the old age people. These narratives, these novels also reveal the social aspect of aging, the cultural aspect of aging, and how the social, cultural, ethical, moral, political, legal aspect of aging sometimes create hurdle for the people who are old, and hence the focus of these narratives will be to reveal the loneliness and social invisibility of the people who are old. And in this way, I will be able to explore how literary narratives can bring out different dimensions of old age people, different problems of old age people, which we may not see in our day-to-day life, and we may ignore it if we see. So the purpose of these novels, these narratives are to provide how aging have been constructed, how aging have been formulated, and circulated and legitimated in the society. When we look at the role of literature and how it provides new dimensions on aging, we find that literature reflects over and literature critiques the social realities that create hurdle for the old age people. It critiques those social realities, the social conditions that curtail the rights of, that curtails the roles of old age people. And hence, literature, novel, poetry provide experiences into the lived aging experiences of a person. It talks about certain things which we may not which we may ignore in our day-to-day existence, but literature provides a deep insight into how the lived aging experiences are very different than what we think, how they are formulated, and what kind of impact these lived experiences are having. Mike Hepworth, in the book Stories of Aging, says that aging is both social and cultural concern, and then further aging is a biological experience. So aging is not just biological. According to Mike Hepworth, aging is social, cultural, as well as biological. So one's understanding of aging is based upon the social, cultural, and biological experiences. The narrative, the literature, the novel and drama shape how we understand aging and how we need to approach aging. And the literary lenses, the literary representations will provide a new approach to understand the midlife and the old age through different examples, through different typologies. And when we look at aging in the contemporary society, whether it's like Indian and Western societies, but more prominently in the Western society, aging has been seen as a decline of health, decline of one's power and energy, decline of one's social roles. So aging has been seen as decline in the Western society. it has also been seen in the Indian society as well. Moreover, aging has been compared with the closeness. Aging has been compared that it is what you call path for death. That person is becoming old and it's getting closer by, is getting closer to death. So the people who become old, they may have fear and they may have invisibility of death that will actually marginalize the old age people. Norbert Elias in the book The Loneliness of the Dying says that the society in which we exist, the society distances itself from the aged and the aging and the old age. Why? Society distances itself from the aged, aging and the old age because they get frightened. They consider old age as a taboo and they do not see death in the advanced societies. People do not have the experiences of death. They do not see, they do not witness the people who are dying. Earlier, people used to die at home, in the houses, and the family members used to gather there and witness the death. But now, death has become medicalized. People die in the hospitals and in the advanced society. So death has become invisible. They consider aging as something as something from which society distances itself. They think aging is a taboo. Elias further says that the society's progress with advance in biology and technology, and as the quality of life improves, life becomes predictable and secure. Hence, life grows longer, death is life, and hence life grows longer, death is further postponed. The sight of dying and dead people is no longer commonplace. It is easier in the normal course of life to forget death. So, people suffer in the old age because their death is postponed, and their life has been lengthened. Life becomes longer, and so people actually remain old for a long time, and they do not then see the death. So Elias says that death is very necessary to understand the concept of old age, because if people are not witnessing death, then they will not be having the idea, the meaning of life. But in the advanced societies, death has become invisible. It has been removed. It has been medicalized. It has become part of the medical systems, and it no longer takes place at home. When we think about what you call the condition of old people, before they die, they witness social death every day. So they face double death, and one need which they experience every day, that is social death. Social death is where a person is not having any participation in the society. Their roles, their actions, their activities in the society have been curtailed. They become lonely. They become alone. And so this has actually caused, we find the society a kind of demographic shift, where we have more and more number of elderly populations. The people who are growing old, their population is increasing day by day. But They have not been given positive cultural values. So aging still lacks positive cultural values. And people think that aging is something which is burden. Aging is something which is a lack of vigor, the lack of energy, the lack of innate heat. Norbert Elias says that since the people do not have the experiences of death, and death is hidden from daily life, and hence people think that old age is the only problem, and they think that old age is equivalent to isolation and emotional neglect, that they do not have any emotions, any concerns, they can live alone, they can live isolated. H. Hajan says that social death precedes physical death. So before like a person dies clinically, so before the physical death occurs, the person may be facing social death every day. And to reduce this social death, one needs community support, one needs the support of family members. But with the rise of capitalism, rise of consumerism, rise of industrialization, the care has become institutional and has replaced the family support and the community support. So the social death is also seen in terms of the loss of identity, the loss of the self-worth, the loss of one's value. And when we look at the representation of aging through fictional texts, we find that the novels, the fictional texts, challenge the concept of ageism. They challenge ageist views. They challenge the stereotypical and negative views about aging. The characters in the novels, in the drama, they reveal the inner life of the elderly people, what they experience, what they undergo, and what they seek, what they expect. It reveals that the life experiences of old age people are not one dimensional, rather they too have complexity of experiences, they have their own agency, and hence literature allows to enter in the emotional realm of the old age people and then bring the emotional realism of the older people. And in this way, literature creates counter narratives against the social neglect of the old age people. It tries to formulate alternative point of view about the social curtailment of the rights of the old age people. Let us look at the Indian novel, that's Rohinton Mistri's Family Matters. This novel is about a character called Nariman Vakil, who is 79-year-old Parsi widower, and he suffers from Parkinson's disease. The novel portrays, it depicts that Nariman has become physically fragile. His memory, his cognitive power has declined. He cannot remember anything for a longer time. And he cannot actually take any kind of intellectual decisions. He cannot provide any kind of insights. So the person is having both physical decline and then cognitive decline. And the condition in which he has been put in, it symbolizes, it actually represents that how cognitive decline and decline of physical body is a source of a symbol of fear for rest of the society. So the novel brings the the idea of cognitive decline, the idea of physical fragility, only to reveal the broader fear of aging. So Nariman's condition is symbolic of the broader fear of aging, that people will be worried about what one thinks about one's physical health as well as mental health. And he has become dependent upon his family members. And once like a person in the old age becomes dependent, then what kind of relation one is having with his family members? One needs to rethink about these family roles and relationships. And the person, who in this case Nariman, is having both physical and emotional struggle to cope with his old age. He finds that it is difficult for him to cope with the old age, and he has become dependent. Nariman has become dependent on his stepchildren Roxana and her husband Ejad. So he goes to the house of his daughter Roxana, who lives with her husband Ejad. And so the caregiving of Nariman falls on the middle generation's family, falls on his children. And what it alters, it actually, the children think that their entire life has been disturbed because of because of Nariman, because of the health conditions of Nariman. So financial and emotional strain of Nariman actually shapes the day-to-day existence, his daily routine. And his daughter and son-in-law consider to some extent that care is like a duty for the old age people, but they also resent, they also feel disturbed about them. So though they consider like that they have duty for the old age people to take care of their needs, but it is not same. They get angry over them, over him. And in this way we find that the novel critiques that one is having family support from the extended family. Then when we look at the condition of Nariman, though like he spends his time with his daughter's house, but he is forced to leave his familiar apartment. So he's not leaving the place where he was supposed to stay, where he liked to stay, his own house. Rather, he stays in the cramped flat with Roxana's family, where he feels isolated despite being physically present there. He is not able to like mix up himself with the family members. He like eats his food, he gets a bath. After doing his routine work, he spends his time in his isolation. He feels alone in the house. He is not having any autonomy in the house because the flat is small, and he has no privacy in the house. And in this way, the novel also reveals that aging is linked to the loss of autonomy, the loss of privacy. And he has nothing to say about. He feels silenced. He becomes invisible in the house of Roxana, in the family of Roxana. So silence and invisibility of Nariman is often emphasized in the novel. Further, the condition of Nariman brings that though like his son and though his daughter and son-in-law to some extent consider this to be consider that that it's their duty to take care of Nariman. But what about the young children, the children of Roxana and Ijad? What they think about Nariman? They have different attitudes about Nariman. They have different values and beliefs about aging and old age people. And in this way, we find that sometimes we have the frustration of Ejad over Nariman, though Roxana remains quiet and she tries to cope with the situation. Their children, Jahangir and Murad, they are confused and simply observing what is happening there. In this way, we find that the novel Family Matters creates aging in terms of represents aging in terms of moral and emotional dilemmas in the family. It creates moral dilemmas for Roxana, emotional dilemma for Roxana when her husband gets frustrated over Nariman. It creates a dilemma for Roxana when her children are confused and indifferent about Nariman. And these confusions, frustrations are caused by the cultural expectations and the clash of cultural expectations and economic realities, because if the people are poor, then they won't be able to support the old age people. Now moving to the British novel Kingsley Amis's Ending Up. This novel was written in 1974 and deals with 5 elderly characters who live together in a cottage and who are in their 70s. They live together, they have chosen this companionship out of necessity. They need to help each other. They need each other's support. They did not came together to stay, they did not come together to stay in the cottage out of their own choice. It was not their desire to come together and stay. It was the necessity. It was the necessity of survival that they came together, began to live and live together. So we find that in this novel, the older people, these 5 people, they formulate their companionship that they will support, they will help each other. The novel portrays that these characters, they have problem, they struggle with isolation and decay of their health. And the cottage, I mean the place where they are residing, that represents both like a refuge and exclusion. Refuge because this is a place where they have come to stay. Exclusion because they have been excluded from their society, from their family. They have been thrown away from the society and family. And hence the cottage also represents the exclusion, and also it provides a shelter to the old age people. The novel reflects about the social discomfort which is visible on these people, which is seen in the old age. It tries to see how old age has been also facing problems because of certain social conditions. When we look at these 5 characters and their conditions, particularly health condition, and as I said earlier, all the characters are in their 70s. First one is Adela Bastable. Adela Bastable is having mild heart concerns and she fears dying alone. So we find that she is having some health problems, some health concerns, and thinks she will be dying alone. She feels the fear of isolation. She feels the fear of death. Then second character is Bernard Bastable, who is terminally ill, who is suffering from terminal illness, and who is also emotionally erratic. The next character is Sartel, who is also known as Sarty, and he is actually drinking a bit. He is alcoholic, and through alcohol, he is trying to manage. He is trying to cope with the aging. Then another character called Marigold. She has memory loss. She suffers from memory lapses, and then repeats certain thoughts and ideas again and again. Then another character, Professor Jayer, who has become physically weak and is bedridden and suffers from nominal aphasia. What we find in this novel that all the characters have some kind of problems, some kind of health concerns. Does this mean that aging is the cause of illness, or illness is a necessary part of aging? Or is aging illness? Or is illness causes aging? So it actually invites, it opens up multiple questions to reflect over, that how the narrative constructs and associates illness with aging. And every character in this story, in this novel, are suffering from some kind of illness, some kind of health concerns, health problems. When we look at like what happens in the life of these characters and how these characters depict their own existence, we find that the people who are of old age, who are in their 70s, their health is declining because of some diseases. They are also excluded from society. They are residing in a cottage, and so they face social exclusion. They are not part of their family. They are not part of a society. Rather, they formulate an alternative community, an alternative society, an alternative companion where they can help each other and they can take care of the needs of each other when their health is declining, when their body is not able to support them. All these 5 characters, they have fear of the institutionalization or abandonment. They think that once their body stops supporting them, and then they will be left to die by themselves. Nobody will help them. It reveals that how the novel is revealing the breakdown of family support system, the breakdown of social support system, the breakdown of the government support system, and the social support system. It reveals that the old age people face, they are excluded from society and face different problems. They do not have anything to do meaningful. Their life has become meaningless. Meaning has been absent in their life, and they are emotionally uprooted and often indulge in petty conflicts. It reveals that how old age has caused the concerns of social exclusion, abandonment, loss of any kind of support, loss of meaningful existence, and withdrawal from the emotions and indulgence in petty conflicts. When we look at the novel ending up critically, we find that the social death of these characters are more important than the physical weakness, the physical frailty. These characters die social death every day because they are isolated. They have become excluded from the society, and their social death is more important, more significant over their physical weakness. These characters are like able to do certain things. They have physical power. They have certain capacity, but they are ignored in the society. They have no space in the society. Society has looked down on them and found that they are useless burden. The novel reveals, it represents the real world age segregation. It mirrors our society, that how old people are treated in the society, and emphasizes the need for communal spaces where one can live together with other members, where they can share their emotions, their thoughts and ideas. The novel reveals that how our society has failed, and how they are not able to integrate the elderly people, and how they are thrown away from the society, from the family, how they have become separate from the society, from the households. When we move to the next novel, Deborah Magog's These Foolish Things, it talks about the condition of old age people in the contemporary British society. The novel deals with 7 characters and their experiences of old age in the British society as well as in the Indian society. The narrative of the novel begins with Dr. Ravi and his cousin Soni, who plan to construct a retirement home in India for all the people who are lonely, abandoned and bored and are senior citizens. So the novel is dedicated to the theme of old age people, and the story is beginning with the concept of constructing the old age houses, the old age shelter houses, where the people who are abandoned, who are alone, who are isolated, who are bored in their life, who are senior citizens, they can spend their time. And it tries to actually provide an alternative approach to manage their old age. And the characters in this novel, they try to actually make India as their retirement home, and then think that like how the retirement home in India is different from the retirement home in the UK. Because in the UK they find that the people who are of old age, they have been neglected, they have not been paid any attention. And being an old person, they need companionship, they need care, they need communal space where they can tell, where they can share their stories. So this retirement home in India affirms the cultural and emotional reallocation of the old age people. It tries to actually reset their life, reset their existence and life experiences in a bit different context, in a bit different culture, in a bit different emotional scenario. So this novel, the story of this novel about old age people has inspired the film called The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. And talking about how the old people are trying to lead their life and how they are able to actually defy certain kind of social hegemonies and cultural hegemonies which have been imposed upon the old age people. The novel is trying to reveal that how aging can also be seen uh, from the point of view of hope and transformation. So the novel tries to give some hope to the older people and how their life can get transformed. The characters in this novel are Dorothy Miller, a retired BBC journalist who feels herself invisible in the Western society, in the British society, who finds that there is no one with whom she can talk, and her existence has become meaningless and invisible to the other people. Nobody cares about Dorothy. Another one is Evelyn Greenslade, who is a widow and is not having any money, any source of income, and she is trying to seek a new meaning of her life. The novel reveals that what does it means to be a widow and be a old woman, because being a widow and being an old woman has its own cultural and social problems. Evelyn Greenslade is also moneyless. She's not having any source of income, and once one is not having any money and any source of income, and above all, one is a widow and a old woman, how can one then manage one's life? How can one provide meaning to one's life? The narrative provides like how Evelyn is trying to provide meaning to her existence. Other characters are Douglas Donnelly and Jean Ainsley. They are facing financial strain. They are unable to meet their day-to-day expenses through their pensions. So we find that like the old age people have the problem of getting invisible. They have problem of not having a meaningful existence. They have problem of becoming what to call. They have problem of having financial constraints and unable to cope up, unable to meet their daily expenses. And the character is a Norman who is sexually adventurous, who want to have multiple sexual relations with multiple women, and he is trying to defy. I mean, the narrative through Norman, the narrative is trying to actually contest the idea that old men have no sexuality. As sexuality dies in the old age, they are sexless and genderless. Then Madge, he also thinks about dreams of romantic rediscovery, tries to actually spend his time in romantic relationships. And after a point of time, all the four characters like Douglas, Jean, Norman, and Madge, they decide to move to India, a hotel called Dam Romin Retirement Hotel, which a fictional hotel in Bangalore, where they want to have second chance to their life. And so they want to have their second life. So they found the problem in the Western context, Western culture, Western society. And then they moved to Bangalore, India, in Romin Retirement Hotel, which they find that this is their alternate home. This is like their old age retirement space, and want to give a second chance to their life, where Norman and Madge indulge in sexual relationships in India without being judged. They come in relationship with a different woman. They think that it shouldn't be making any kind of expressions, any kind of narratives, are thinking about what they are doing, Earlier it was believed that old age people do not have any kind of sexual stimuli, and hence they do not have any kind of sexual relationships. And over here it actually challenges these kind of narratives, and they don't want to be judged that old man and are old woman should behave in a particular way. A old man and old woman should have certain kind of tasks. It tries to actually portray old man and old woman without being judged, without being framed in the normative and hegemonic narratives, hegemonic frameworks. When we look at the concerns of these old people in the novel, we find that one of their concerns is that age and visibility in public and private life. That the student become invisible in both public and private life. They want to reinvent their personal life as well as public life in different manners. They want to escape from the institutional aging in the West, because West considers that aging is something which is not acceptable. It is like a kind of taboo, and where they do not witness the death, rather death has become more medicalized. So they escape from the Western countries, from the Britain, and come to India and explore their life in a new way. These are like what you call cultural understanding of the people about old age, and hence these characters have their own different experiences in England as well as in India. These people are marginalized and uprooted from their own communities, from the British society. They find that they have no space in the British culture. The old age the old age population have no space in the British society, in the British culture. They cannot connect with each other emotionally, and for emotional renewal, they explore a new culture, that is India. Further, the novel challenges norms around late life romance, that the old man cannot have romantic relationships. The novel challenges this kind of narratives. The novel challenges this kind of opinions. We also find that these characters belong to different ages, different genders, and different classes. Each one of them have their own concerns about old age. And the problem of old age also differs in terms of class, gender, and age. So we find that the novel talks about the failure of Western elder care, that how Western society has failed to take care of their older people. And for them, India symbolizes a possibility, not an exile, where they can live a life meaningfully, both publicly and privately. And then they redefine the aging through new social roles in Bangalore, in India. The cultural contrast between the Western concept of aging and the Indian concept of aging reveals that how, despite India being now more and more industrialized, despite India turning into consumerist culture, it still has some space for the old age people, and where they can provide the support and care, not just for its own people, but the people who belong to other culture, other society as well. And in this way, the novel talks about rediscovering new communities in the old age and where they can live happily. When we compare these novels, like Family Matters by Rohindra Mistry, we find that Family Matters talks about that the people in old age become dependent, silent, and invisible So dependency, silence and invisibility are the major concerns of old age in the family matters. In Kingsley Amis ending up, we find stagnation, decay, and cynicism are some of the key concerns, and we find that like how society makes the life of older people stagnate, how society thinks that the old people have decline of their health, decline of their memory, decline of their all kind of vigor, and how society becomes cynical against old age people. In these foolish things, in the novel These Foolish Things, we find that old age can be reinvented. There are new possibilities of growth and different types of empathy which we can find. And this reinvention, growth and empathy has been seen through comparison of two cultures, Indian and British cultures. The British culture has failed to protect, to take care of the old age people, and Indian culture, Indian society to some extent provide support for the old age people, to even to those who come from different cultures, different society, different nations. And when we find that there are characters who indulge in romantic relationships, then we find that old age is socially constructed, because it was believed that in the old age people do not have any kind of sexual activity. They rather indulge only in spiritual activities, and in this way aging is socially constructed. It is not biologically determined. Further, the emotional conditions of the old age people are dependent upon the context in which they exist, the context in which they reside in. And the people who have become old, they need the support of community. They need a space where they think they belong. So belonging and community care are very essential for old age people. They think that it is a space, like a concept which can give them the sense of identity. So to conclude, we find that all these three novels talk about aging in terms of like giving what you call space of dignity, or how these narratives talk about that the old people deserve dignity and attention. The purpose of these novels are to support and to assert that the old people deserve dignity and rights. These novels also reveal that the old people have their own emotional crises, and those emotional crises cannot be understood through some kind of data. The novels also critique the Western ageist assumptions. However, we find that in the case of Indian novels, particularly family matters, there are certain problems which are similar to the Western countries. And so it doesn't mean that India is not having any problem for the old age people. Family matters do describe that old age people face a lot of problems, and most of these problems are social and cultural in nature, and they are also of course biological. However, all these novels emphasize that the old age people need a meaningful inclusion in the society. They need that they should have a meaningful existence in the society. Their roles should be like recognized, and they can have a healthy aging. So in this way, we find that these novels talk about a kind of literary aging, which is not an end, but a redefinition of the concept of aging. It provides new ideas and new perspectives about how old age people can be seen, perceived, and how they can make their life meaningful, either by changing cultures, either by changing society, or by moving to a new places. The novels also reveal that every country, every society have their own concerns and problems about the old age people. Thank you.